Hello everyone, No Respawns here. Hope you've had a grand week, and more importantly, aren't too depressed now that the beta days are over and you actually have to wait to the 14th like the rest of us scrubs. So what I wanted to do is, now the beta's finished and we've all, just, well, we're a bit down. I don't know about you, but I'm a bit mopey. I just want my holiday to come. I thought it would be interesting just to kind of talk about the game a little bit. So, mainly because I know a lot of you didn't pre-order the game at all, so maybe you don't really know much. And I get loads of comments on my videos and on Twitter, and I think a load of people have perceptions of the game that I kind of want to alleviate some fears, but also just kind of give you my thoughts. So that's what this video is going to be. The backdrop will be obviously just the hours and hours of footage that I recorded. I'm not going to lie, I haven't decided what footage you'll be seeing, so it won't be in sync as such. I won't be commenting on what I see. Anyway, so let's get straight into it. So I like to put my too long didn't read first at the start of every video, just something like this, just so that way you kind of know what to expect. But I'm really quite excited by this. But it is a very, very different experience to Fallout 4. But not in a bad way. It's a different kind of game. Now, I say this as someone who didn't indulge in the multiplayer in any way, shape, or form, and had a blast. So, the one thing I want to get out of the way first is that a lot of people have been quite, I guess, justifiably cautious, and also maybe because the way Bethesda worded it made it sound like it's something that it wasn't was. That makes no sense. But so a lot of people have mentioned, oh, is there a single-player game in there? Obviously they mentioned there are no NPCs. Does this mean that it's going to be really, really boring? No, very important, very, very important. The fact is they mentioned there are no human NPCs, right? There are NPCs. There are some good ones, actually. No spoilers, so I'm not going to mention, but I've not paid as much as I could have, obviously, because, we had limited time, but obviously next week I'll get to kind of play a bit more. But there are loads of NPCs in the game, and they're just robots. They're robots, and they're quite funny. One of them's quite funny. So far, I'm quite enjoying it. And the way that you get quests in the game, put it this way, I would say that this has the same level of questing single-player content that you would have in Fallout 4 easily, but it's presented differently. And it might be a little bit weird at first. So it is one of those ones where it's a kind of like stumble upon an area, find a holotape, and the story unfolds. It's in a lot of ways, a much slower paced game than Fallout 4, Fallout 3, and all the others prior to that. So I'll give an example. So you'll stumble across a bunker of some description. This is me vaguely making up, so this is relevant to various bunkers. And either you'll get an instant quest that goes, oh, explore this place, and I'm like, all right, fair dues, all right. They'll suggest there's some shit there, and then you'll find holotapes, and those holotapes will uncover a story, usually a task as well you need to do, and you'll get to learn what happened. You'll get to listen to loads of holotapes, read loads of notes, and a story will unfold. That's the most common quest that you'll get, and I really, really like it. It's very, very slow pace, though, and I'm going to get onto my kind of tips and suggestions, but it is a game that you approach, if you're playing as a single player, you approach it in a way different way than you would, say, Fallout 4, where you may be like, oh, I'm going to talk to this dude, oh, he wants to do this, bosh, grand, I'm just going to fuck off and maybe get distracted for a few hours, but I'll eventually do the quest. Potentially, don't you dare look at my misc tab, that kind of thing. But the other kind of quest is you'll actually get an NPC to ask you to do something, but it'll be a robot. And it just works exactly the same way as Fallout 4 or Fallout 3. It's the same thing. Often, it's a little bit random. I don't want to spoil anything, but there are some characters. What they've gone and done is, the best way of looking at it is, you remember Grey Garden and the robots with personalities? That's Fallout 76, effectively. You'll get normal handy. There are loads of Mr. Handy robots that seems to be, at least my instance, the most common robot that I've met is a Mr. Handy, that are quest givers. But they're very, very varied. Again, I don't want to spoil anything. It's really, really good. If you're looking for a single player game, maybe you might be put off because of the fact that it's a bit more of a slower paced, a bit more of an explorative single-player experience. But it is really, really fun. I just think you have to get yourself in the right frame of mind. A great example of this, so, and this is, I'm more or less certain the case of quite a lot of you who played the beta, is we rushed the opening of the game quite a bit. I was just like, right, I've got videos to do, and I get a little bit of, you know, oh, what's going on here, but I need to make a video and build some shit, that kind of thing. And so therefore I rushed the opening of the game quite a bit, and therefore it maybe upset my flow a little bit, and I was, you know, kind of maybe not reading notes, and kind of, there are loads of holotapes, loads of them. They didn't skimp on the dialogue in this game. It's just, it's one-sided, effectively, to the most extent. And I restarted again, so when the last beta day, what I did is I was like, okay, it's about 3 hours until the beta ends. I knew I was going to do this. I restarted again and played 3 hours of the opening of the game, really slow pace. I just took my time. I was like, right, fuck it, I'm not going to make any more building, because potentially it might be completely different when the game actually drops, because I'll have new items. I'm just going to take my time and explore. And it was so nice. To be honest, for me, it felt weirdly like, more like Skyrim than Fallout. And maybe this is just my personal perceptions, but you know how, when you were playing Skyrim, you would stumble across tombs all the time. Skyrim was very much a more stumble across this cool thing and go looking kind of game, compared to Fallout, which I always felt like I was doing a quest. I was helping someone out. Skyrim is that game that always felt a bit more explory compared to Fallout 4 than obviously than I you know, compare the two. And that's Fallout 76 feels like that. There are some just, I don't want to ruin anything, but there's loads and loads and loads of stuff to do. If you're, and I'm going to say this again, if you're looking for a single-player game, you have a single-player game. Now, on the subject of the PvP, they weren't joking when they said it was kind of really optional. To give you an idea, I've had a couple of people, right in the first couple of days, I think everyone may have experienced this to some extent, people trying to engage in PvP. To the point where I would even argue that they've kind of made it a bit disappointing for people who wanted PvP. So, people just do no damage to you unless you reciprocate. So there's an option, right? So, people were, at the start, trying to grief you into PvP. So what they would do is they'd attack you. It didn't happen very often as well, but they would attack you, and they'd try and get in the way of your bullets, so you attacked them, and then they could retaliate. But there's an option to just disable, like, PvP damage. So if you shoot someone, it just won't count as PvP, you won't do any damage. But what people could do is, I remember Todd mentioned in one of his videos, he's like, oh yeah, you know, people can eventually kill you. Yeah, if you don't bother even eating a sweet roll, okay, not a sweet roll, whatever food you've got at the time, you know what I mean, having a beer, having a Nuka-Cola, the damage they do is so pathetically small, it's hilarious. To the point where, like, I remember, I was doing the main quest for a bit, like the main-ish quest when you're doing, I'm not even going to mention, but you're doing some of the main quest stuff, and some guys, there's two dickheads, that, oh yeah, you know, I also, you can disable voice chat as well. I did that immediately, mainly because I was recording and didn't want to hear people's voices. They do need to polish there are a few bits that need polishing, I'm not going to lie, and the voice chat is one, because I think it sounds like it's global, but I immediately turned it off in the first 10 minutes. And, yeah, so two guys started wailing on me, so they started smacking me and shooting me and stuff like that. And seriously, they had shotguns, and one of them, like, had a hunting rifle, and I just ate a little bit of food, and they just got bored. They've made it unfun, and I think that there are definitely criticisms, and I will get to it, but they've made, if someone doesn't want to PvP with you, it's going to be boring as shit. Unless maybe you're playing a melee character, but even then, you're just going to have to kind of run after them and keep whacking them. And also, there's weapon durability anyway. So it's just like, if you're worried about people trolling you on PvP, seriously, do not worry at all. PvP is completely optional, to the point where I'm actually a little bit worried. Or not worried, but I'm hoping that they maybe do a few, like, more quest-related actual, where everyone is willingly, like, kind of more narrative PvP, I think would be better. I did accidentally start a quest which I immediately cancelled, where it's like again, I'm not going to explain it, but effectively there was a quest that had you hunt someone, and I accidentally activated it. I think it was, yeah, you listen to a radio and it activates it. So that one was one of those kind of more narrative-based PvP things, which actually sounds really fun, because I didn't do it because I was like, no, ain't nobody got time for that, especially during the beta. But I think it's one of those things that eventually I can activate, and then you basically stalk someone across the map, which is quite fun, right? And you each have your own target. I think that was it. I quit it very early on. I didn't do anything because I accidentally listened to the radio station. But yeah, if you're worried about this being a game where you're going to be griefed by people, don't. If you're worried about this being a game that you won't have any single player content, don't. However, it might not be single player content you're used to. It is very... If you're playing this single player, take your fucking time. That's all I would say. It isn't a game that you can really rush around. If you rush around, I think you won't enjoy it, which will put some of you off. It's one of those things as well that may put you off, but you don't want to admit that you play like that kind of person. It's like, oh, I rush through the content. No one really wants to admit they do that, because it just seems like you don't appreciate the game. And I do it myself as well. I did that when I first started. So if you're playing it single player, just take your time. Immediately go to the options, go to game, and turn on pacifist mode so you don't accidentally, on the very rare chance someone's going to try and PvP with you, turn that off and you're good to go. The reason why I say the rare chance is because after the first 2 days, people just stopped doing it, because I think they just realised it just wasn't worth it. But what else? So the game looks a lot better as well. It looks really, really nice. It's some people are like, oh, it looks the same. It doesn't. The textures have definitely been updated, and it's... the lighting, especially, I guess, because it's a bit more of a lush environment as well. So it looks beautiful. It looks really, really, really nice. So it does feel like an updated game, which is grand. It's not that updated. It's not, comparing The Witcher 2 to The Witcher 3 level kind of updated, but it's still, you notice it, and I was like, oh. The environments are beautiful, so... I didn't realise how different just having grass and everything green all over the place would change how you approach and feel about the game. But it does feel really, really nice. It is very, very beautiful. I personally do like the, obviously, apocalypse look, but it's a nice change, which is quite cool. The sounds has changed. The weapons feel a lot different. So you're going to get a lot of pipe weapons at the start, especially, and the first thing you'll notice is, wow, this feels bizarrely satisfying to shoot. They've clearly taken a lot of feedback on from Fallout 4 and right, let's just make these games a little bit more solid. Especially good is the pipe revolver. That was something that really stood out to me when like my first day playing. I had to play around with the pipe revolver. It's like a 44 pipe revolver, and it just is a nice weapon to shoot. It is Davey appreciated the pipe revolver, to be sure. There are loads more weapons in the game as well. I've barely unlocked them, to be honest. They're just loads you can play around with. But I was actually looking at videos the other day, just like, what am I going to get? What am I going to get? What kind of character am I going to do? A big thing, speaking of what kind of character, one thing I personally still prefer, for example, certain elements. I always liked the old Fallout 2 and Fallout 1 kind of more heavily in-depth RPGing, but the way they've done the perk cards is awesome, and I really, really like it. It's way more modular, and it's bizarrely satisfying, because I guess there's a sense of randomness about it, so you're gonna... I don't remember, it's every few levels, I think it might be set levels, or maybe every 2 or 3, I don't exactly know, but every 2 or 3 levels or whatever, you'll get a collection of perk cards, so it's like a pack of cards. I mean, most of you will have probably watched the various videos on it, but it's quite cool because it's completely random what you get, and you might get interesting, useful abilities earlier on than someone else might. But also, so the way the perks work, and you can merge 2 perk cards of the same type to level it up. I didn't realise that for a bit, actually, so I had, duplicates of cards. Duplicates cards is fine, as long as it's a card you want to level up. And also, each card will have a score. So say I have... I'm going to try and think now. So say I have the hacker card, the one that, allows you to hack terminals at higher level. If I have that at level 2, it'll take 2 points of intelligence. So if you're intelligence 5, it means that you have 3 more points to use. So you can have 3 more level 1 cards or 1 level 3 card. And it's one of the, they don't explain it very well, or more importantly, like me, you probably didn't read any of the tooltips that popped up, so therefore you were like, oh right. So definitely, again, take it slow, read the tutorials. It won't be the beta. Hopefully you book days off like me, or at the very least have a good few hours. Take your sweet time. Read the tooltips, but effectively, yeah, it's quite cool, and I think it's way better than Fallout 4's. I'm gonna say that right now, because also it means that ostensibly you could probably like switch out cards and just have completely different builds, and you can change these cards on the fly. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't. There's no pause menu, so I wouldn't recommend doing it while you're getting punched in the face. But effectively, yeah, you know, when you've just got a slight breather, you can just switch these cards in and out. Which means, for example, a lot of the hacker cards, a lot of the lockpicking cards, I tend to not equip unless I'm actually going to pick a lock, because I might as well use those slots for something else. What else? So, the character creation is really good, got a tweak, which is quite nice. You can actually edit your character on the fly as well, which is quite cool. So don't feel like your character is stuck in the same way, which is pretty grand. I kind of been fine-tuning my dude quite a bit, and I will be editing him and generally just kind of making him look baller. It's got a beard, obviously. It's got a haircut that I can't personally pull off, but looks good in game. It's pretty grand. Clothing is pretty interesting. So the way it works now is that you can wear clothing over armor. Now, I'm a bit curious. I think it works the same way. So anything would have armor over the top, you can now wear. You can still wear armor over the top. But any of the outfits, so you know those your priest robes, those kind of things, that you wouldn't have normally in Fallout 4 been able to say put leather armor over. You just wear it over the top of your leather armor. Also, a lot of your headgear doesn't have bonuses in the same way. So yeah, back in the day in Fallout 4, you'd put on the newsboy cap, for example. It would give you 2 charisma. That doesn't give you anything anymore. It's purely aesthetic. However, to the exception, the rule is things like gas masks, which help you with things like polluted air, that kind of stuff. Now, on the subject of polluted air status effects, segueing slightly awkwardly, but fine enough, into the survival element. So I really, really like it. They've made it, I think, they've kind of perfected it. I think they took what worked from the Fallout 4 survival mode and then kind of made it easier. So, for example, you're not as squishy as you were at all. I do feel you're a little bit squishier than what you are in Fallout 4, but you're still, you're not, getting one-shotted by ghouls, as those of you who watch one of my infamously failed Twitch streams will know, with me and Power Armor getting one-shot by gold trying to go to Jamaica Plain. But yeah, so it's quite cool. You have to eat and drink maybe a little bit more regularly than I would like, or maybe it jumps up on you is the better way of looking at it, but it's quite easy to get food. Obviously, there are perks to make it so you don't actually get as hungry. All right, no. There's perks to make your food more effective, and also the little chewing gum that you get can be chewed to kind of delay the offset of hunger and thirst, which is quite cool. Weapon durability is in there, and okay, maybe it is a little bit irritating. However, again, there are perks, and to be honest, once you kind of get used to it, it's not too bad, though it is annoying when, your fave weapon breaks at the worst possible time. What else? I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, no, just to be honest, it's a good game. Like I said, it does feel like an extra Fallout 4 in a lot of ways. I like the quest, and I said if you want a single-player game, you've got a single-player game. Ultimately, yeah, I do prefer the way Fallout 4 and Fallout 3, that kind of more, I guess, immersive, or I'm an actual character kind of narrative. I love, those of you who follow me on Twitter know I love Hancock, I love Piper, I love all those characters, and there are characters like that in the game, but your relationship was very different because you don't have the same dynamic with them as you would, say, Hancock is a great example, Nick Valentine, you know what I mean? I actually, this is going to out me a little bit, but I actually quite like the voice protagonist in Fallout 4, because I feel as if I have a bit more of a bond with the companions. So I do miss them. I miss Hancock especially. He's my bae quite a bit. But in terms of the game, it's really good. Honest to God, if you're wanting a single-player experience, you've got a single-player experience. It's just different. It's just different. And I think that will be the thing that you'll notice quite a lot, is there is a complete single-player game here. It's just done in a different way. And I would go to say is there's at least the same level as single-player content in Fallout 76 as there is in Fallout 4. Easily. Which is quite, it's relieving, because I was a bit worried. Again, I will say, just don't rush it, because if you rush it, then it kind of feels a bit shallow, because you're not really getting into it, and I think maybe that might off-put it. I've obviously made my thoughts on the building clear in my last video, and I'm quite excited. Loads of you have been leaving me great comments, by the way, because ultimately I didn't get enough time to actually, play around with the building and come to the various elements. So someone mentioned earlier that when you unlock one of the public workbenches, you actually unlock a load of plans, schematics basically, which is quite cool. A couple of people have mentioned survival elements where weapons are hidden, cool shit like that. So thank you for your comments, really good. It's quite optimistic as well. I noticed a few people on Twitter, but also like bigger YouTube as well, has mentioned that it seems to be that, I think because of the fact that you, quite simply, it's just really difficult to be an asshole in Fallout 76, the community's already quite nice. It's like, yeah, it's cool, it's grand. Anyway, I'm gonna leave you guys there, because ultimately I can't really think of anything else, really. It's fun. Buy it. It's really good. You will like it. Also, incidentally, just at the end of my video, a siren decided to go by. But I like to think if you watch the video for this long, you've committed enough that me having a slightly loud siren go by my flat won't put you off as much. Anywho, so as always, follow me on Twitter at norespawns. I will have a new video soon. The next video will be probably a let's play of Don't Starve Hamlet, which is one of my favourite survival games ever, and the early access has recently dropped, so I want to do an episodic let's play of that. I was going to do it sooner, but I'm trying to finish off a few bits and pieces in Don't Starve Shipwrecked and or the adventure mode before I actually jump straight in. So that way I can jump straight in without having to have any unfinished business. I'll also, so in the UK, if you ordered the Power Armor edition from Game, which is like our Americans, this is the UK version of GameSpot, effectively. They were meant to deliver them early, so potentially, we all thought we were going to get them today. I think we're probably going to get them on Monday. With that in mind, Monday and or Tuesday, potentially not both, but one of the days, I will actually have an unboxing video. So I've actually tied in my room. Hopefully it will look pretty cool. But basically, it'll just be me unboxing the Power Armor Edition. I've seen pictures of people wearing the helmet, and it is fucking massive. And again, those of you who haven't followed me on Twitter or looked at my Instagram, I'm like 5'5", guys. I'm 5'4", let's be honest. I'm pretty short, so I'm going to look hilariously ridiculous wearing that massive helmet. But I don't care, because I'll look fit, yeah? With that in mind, anyway, you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Don't panic. Fallout 76 is dropping soon. You can relax. I would highly recommend buying the new Don't Starve DLC, because it's very good. But if you don't, then I don't know, watch some Netflix. Go see your loved ones. Leave the house a bit, yeah? Fuck's sake, you're getting a bit pale. And with that in mind, I'll talk to you other people soon. You take care.